Hi, this is my review of the FlexTale Hexcrawl Toolkit, the authoritative guide to and inspiration for the world of overland adventures. This is perhaps the most unique Hexcrawl toolkit. Now, I am not saying it is the best. You will have to wait a bit to discover that. What I mean to say is that this Hexcrawl toolkit is pretty much a how-to hexcrawl guide. It encompasses everything and anything concerning the hexcrawl. Even though you have some recommended systems in the cover, such as Pathfinder, Dungeon Crawl Classics, OSR, Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, this is useful for any tabletop RPG, whether it be fantasy, science fiction, subgenres such as steampunk, post-apocalypse. Every tabletop RPG will benefit from this hexcrawl toolkit, but let's see if this is not too much for some players. These are 415 pages of pure hexcrawl goodness. Now let's talk about the quality of the PDF. You obtain two files when you purchase this, the normal file and the mobile-friendly file. That is also quite useful if you want to save some money on ink, if you decide to print this. The document is fully bookmarked and hyperlinked, so it's going to be very easy for you to navigate your way through the entire PDF. I did spot a few typos, but I didn't find anything that was a major obstacle when understanding the content. The graphic design is simple yet colorful. It's very easy to identify the different sections, the boxes. The font is easy on the eyes. The organization and explanations are great. And there are even some jokes every now and then that will have you chuckling a bit. Now let's talk about the content. I don't even know where to begin. Luckily, this book is divided in sections, accommodating the beginners and the advanced hex crawlers or hex crafters. When it comes to the quick start section or the beginner section, you have at most 6 points per section. That is, campaign planning, session preparation, what happens during sessions, and during the hexcrawl turn. But when it comes to the advanced version, you have wow, there are just so many, 6, 7, 8, 9 points, sometimes even more per section. So it's those same sections, campaign planning, session preparation, etc. But there are so many other points concerning the finer aspects of each section or subsection. So when it comes to campaign planning, it covers things related to the approach or role of the party moving through the hexcrawl environment, the design time and playtime considerations. Maybe you want to have a very detailed hexcrawl process, or maybe just the basics. You have all of the information concerning seeding, pre-work, modifications to existing rules, hex boxes, hex size, world boxing, other tools, using existing maps, the point of interest approach and point of interest density. So if you want a light campaign or a highly detailed map filled with hex crawls containing one or more points of interest, where you can measure things, distances from one hex to the other, handling different scales, it's all about that. Then you have session preparation concerning hex changes, scaling up or down, or up and down, points of interest stats and types, pre-generating content, quest tables, and mapping. So this is perfect if you want to run this as a solo player, or as a co-op session with no game master, or playing it traditionally with a game master and other players. This covers everything from questing to dynamically generating content on the fly. Although concerning the details and the materials, I think this book is much better if you want to pre-generate things before the game starts. But when it comes to the solo approach, you can take your time, of course. The During Sessions section covers the hexcrawl turn, how you are going to be revealing new adventure sites and quests as you move through the map. It also covers expeditions, time, subhexes, expedition transportation, points of interest randomization, settlements, monstrous points of interest, non-player characters' points of interest, divine, military, faction, magical, geographical, adventure points of interest, landmarks, minor features. You can also determine variability of the elements, the points of interest that are on deck, streamlined content interaction, de-emphasizing combat, random monster tables. You can link down things, you can handle resources and planning, skills, provisions, fog of war. So if you wanted a campaign that puts great emphasis on survival, obtaining provisions, being mindful of your use of rations, where you're going to be obtaining water to drink, the use of camping gear, it's all about that. Now concerning the during the Hexcrawl turn section, this covers terrain types, basic movements, modes of transport, movement, miles and hexes, terrain revelation, sub-variations of terrain, visibility, weather, roads and trails, rivers and lakes, temperature and climate, overland actions, special hexes, getting lost, navigation tools, rumors and lore, random hexcrawl encounters, environmental encounters, non-player character encounters, monster encounters, special encounters, combat encounters on the road, encounter distance and lairs. Now at the very end of the book, you have lots and lots of utility tables, even covering dungeons, random encounters. These are a bit more geared towards fantasy, although you can easily apply them in science fantasy games, but they can also serve as examples for example, science fiction games, perhaps Old West games as well. So overall, what do I think about this FlexTale Hexcrawl Toolkit? I think this is going to be a must-have for those that consider themselves to be dedicated hex crafters or hexcrawl crafters. There are many useful and awesome toolkits out there concerning the hexcrawl, but this one takes a universal approach. Even though there is some fantasy material included in different sections of the book, the great majority of it is universal enough or agnostic enough to be of use in any tabletop RPG. So if you are someone that places great importance on the exact measurement from hex to hex, sub-hexes within a single hex, fog of war, the details concerning survival, rations, climate and weather, the political and faction-based boundaries, you need to get this book. But for someone that just wants like a light, not so detailed hexcrawl experience, this is going to be a nice option. You do have the beginner section. If you are a solo player, you also have like subsections giving you tips and advice on how to handle these subsystems, systems, details for a solo experience or for a GM-less experience with players as well, that is in co-op mode. Then this is a nice option, but definitely not a must-have, because I can already see some people getting overwhelmed by this. Now when it comes to usability at the gaming table, I would definitely use this to plan things ahead. With practice, you can get to the sections that you are looking for if you want to generate some content on the fly with your group. When it comes to solo gaming, of course, because you are taking your time, this won't be a problem at all. So the usability is greatly enhanced when it comes to solo play. But when you are playing with others, I would definitely generate things beforehand. Or maybe print some pages, or create your own tables using the tables included in the book as examples. In fact, I think this book also works as a how to create a hexcrawl process guide, or build your own hexcrawl toolkit. So this is a fun but definitely slightly more complex version of the average hexcrawl toolkit. You will find your ways to generate the forest, the plains, the deserts, the enemies and sites that you encounter. You can use it as a simple tool, but it is much better, in my opinion, to take full advantage of the entire book. I don't mean to say that you need to use the entire book all of the time during all of your sessions. I mean to say that perhaps during an adventure you're going to be using this section of the book. During another adventure or session, you are going to be using this other section, and so on. Thank you for watching my review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you, and see you later.